Welcome to special hangout session. We are going to talk about Bharat 22, the brand new vehicle devised by Government of India for its disinvestment program. And with me is Naren, who has contributed to the design of this interesting ETF, which has kept investors in mind. So, first and foremost, why should investors invest in Bharat 22 ETF? What's the case? What's the point?
Clearly, when we were working with the government on this product, what came out very clearly is if you have a good combination of sectors and you pick strong fundamental companies belonging to the sectors, you can actually create an index which can deliver good returns over the long term. So, from an index construction perspective, what we've learned is that if you are able to have an index which has diverse sectors and not too much in any single sector, it is very helpful to investors. So here we created an index whereby you have all the sectors will have we'll try to accommodate. No single sector will have more than 20%, and no single stock in the long run would be more than 15%. And in this process, what happens is that if a stock does very well, the weightage of that stock comes down in the index. Okay. If a sector does very well, the sector's weightage goes down in the index. So we get a very good long-term index because you're taking out some of the profits through index construction, and we give a good experience. What I've learned by watching indices is wherever the indices has actually been too concentrated, and too concentrated on one sector, it has not been good for the very long run.
For investors.
For investors. And in fact, if you see the most common index is the S&P 500 ETF in US. It's a 500 stock index. And that is the reason why it turned out to be very successful. So here we have managed to create a diversified index without too much of sector concentration.
Of course, there is a contra question to this. That does this not amount to selling your winners?
But frankly, if you look at it, if you're going to insist on any sector cap of 20% and a stock cap of 15%, you would agree that neither is a stock cap of 15% or a sector cap of 20% too low.
Yes, so it's a very liberal, lavish.
So that's why I don't believe. I believe we would be selling winners, but we wouldn't be. The way I think the index is constructed, it's not as if all winners are sold all the time. And that's how this 15% stock cap and 20% sector cap done only once a year is actually done.
Achha, it will be once a year.
Yes.
Looking at the component of this Bharat 22 index, where a third of it is private companies, where government has accidentally or somehow has a stake, has a meaningful stake, and 2/3 of it is public sector companies. What do you look in the upside? What is the promise?
See, the promise is that you get different sectors, and the promise is similar to...
Are they great companies to which shareholders should own?
See, our view is very simple. If you look at some of the stocks in the index, many of the companies in the big companies in the index, like Larsen and Toubro, ITC, ONGC, BEL, and many other stocks, you will find they're all unique companies. Is it easy that you're going to have one more ONGC? Is it easy that you'll have one more Larsen and Toubro? Doesn't look like it. So you have a situation where we have reasonably important companies where there is no comparable company. I don't think there's a company like Larsen and Toubro which is involved in a wide variety of things. I don't think there is any single company like that. So we believe that the components of the index are reasonably unique and represent what India stands for, and therefore we think it's a very good, that's how we called it Bharat 22, because we wanted the index to represent India and all the parts of India except maybe the exporters. So that's why we have kind of called it Bharat 22 also.
Okay. What happens to the PSUs, government forces companies to pay good dividends, and they are very high dividend yielding companies? Also, it's a function of the value or the price. What happens to the dividend?
So dividend
this
goes to the
ETF design?
investor. The dividend goes to the investor. It gets recorded in the investor's benefit. So that's how it is always. So I don't think there is a. It is not that the dividends don't belong to the
So
investor.
they get reflected in the NAV and the market
Yes,
price will be.
yes.
How do you want to do you plan to intervene in the market at any given situation with the ETF trading?
Intervency, actually there is a concept of a market maker, and there are market makers in the market who will be offering in the market
Two-way bids, quotes.
two-way quotes. So obviously the market maker's goal is to increase the efficiency of trading in that particular ETF, and we would be working through market makers. I don't think as an asset management
No,
company.
any big steep discount or premium to the price. It will require the market maker will take care of.
See,
or
actually
we
the
need
way
to
the
intervene.
system works is that if the quantums of money are large for investment or redemption, it is possible to actually redeem or invest through a what they call creation of a lot.
or nullification of the units.
And our intention would be to ensure that you don't get absurd quotes if you go to sell or buy. But I think our view is that whenever you have a index which has a decent sum of money, we believe that the buy-sell spread can be lower due to market, without market makers. Even the different buyers and sellers tend to reduce the buy-sell differences. If you look at stocks in India, we don't have the concept of market makers. Despite that, the spreads are low. So I believe that Bharat 22 should also have much more reasonable buy-sell spread, because it's going to be offered to the whole.
And very
of
widely
India.
held.
Yeah.
It will have an active market for it.
Yeah.
What is the key risk of for an investor who is going to have this Bharat 22 ETF?
See, there is a risk of the asset class. There are people who think that equities are a very low risk asset class. But there have been periods of time when equities deliver negative returns. So I think the risk of the asset class is clearly something which is there. Other than that, I would say it represents the exporting industries. It represents some of the best Indian companies.
Okay.
So I do believe that if the market goes down significantly, these are also likely to give negative returns. But barring the fact that there aren't too many export industries in the Bharat 22, you have a situation where you have very solid companies which are cash rich. Many of them pay attractive dividends with low debt equity ratios. These are all parts of the index. So I would say that it represents a quality set of companies and not a very risky set of companies.
What kind of investment time frame investors should have in mind before investing in Bharat 22?
I would say that it's comparable to what they should have in mind whenever they are investing in a large cap fund. Our view at this point of time, we are in mid cycle. So we believe that the long term prospects are very good. The short term, we seem to be in a bull market. It is that intermediate period between long term and short term where we are a bit worried about. So we normally tell people invest for the next 5 to 10 years, because these all comprise of stocks which are actually very, very strong companies which are likely to do well in the long run. But having said that, right now we are in a bull market. So I think from a capital gains point of view, 1 year is a minimum holding period. And so I would say that one should look at investing for at least a year and more. But it will behave like the market to some extent. So if you expect that this fund will do badly when the market is doing badly, it is also likely to not do that well. But on the other hand, if the market does very well, this fund is likely to do well.
Do much better.
Yeah.
Okay. How should investor go about investing in this? What is the mechanics of investing?
The mechanics is very simple. There is a new fund offer period, which will be primarily between November 15th and 17th, where you're actually investing like an IPO, and where you will have an IPO system.
Okay.
After the new fund offer is over, like any company listed
So you
in
need
the
a
stock
demat account, you'll fill up a
Yes.
form,
Yeah.
and you will have a basis of allotment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once the new issue period is over, you will actually trade it like a stock, which means you have to buy it in the market. If there is something, if you're planning to invest crores of rupees, there is a facility even post the issue where you can actually come to us with a check, and then we can buy what we call as creation of unit.
What is the for a standard unit? How much money to enable that creation of unit? What is the ticket size?
I think it runs into crores, but you will be able to sell 1 or 2 units
Okay.
in the market as well.
Without much of a problem.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And so this is Bharat 22, the brand new way to invest in a select set of great Indian companies and some public sector companies.